Good morning and welcome to Market Opening on our brand new collab show between Business Today and India Today TV. It's 9 a.m. We're here to get you ahead of the curve as markets kick off trading for the day. Let's take a look at what's hot in the corporate and financial space this morning. Missed filing your ITR? Here's good news. The deadline has been extended. One final chance today. A record 7.3 crore plus returns filed till September 15, crossing last year's 7.28 crore mark. India-U.S. trade talks to resume today amid tariff war. U.S. trade negotiator Brendan Lynch arrives in New Delhi for a one-day visit. Commerce Ministry says discussions will focus solely on trade issues amid the ongoing tariff dispute. Wall Street gained as Tesla rally and Trump's upbeat comments on China trade talks lifted sentiment. The S&P 500 closed above 6,600 for the first time. Nasdaq hit a fresh record while Dow ended with modest gains. Gold scaled a fresh lifetime high at 3,680.80 ounce a dollar, while silver hit a multi-year peak as a weaker dollar index below 98 and lower treasury yields boosted commodities ahead of the U.S. Fed policy meet. SEBI approves IPOs of FineLabs and Hero Motors. FineLabs plans a $1 billion IPO to fund tech and overseas expansion as well as debt reduction. Hero Motors to raise 1,200 crore rupees via fresh issue and OFS. Offer for sale. Well, lots of deal action there, but let's take a look at the market setup and the global markets as well. Let's pull those up for you and just take a look at how we fared overnight and what we're heading into in trade today as well. Remember, we're watching out for the big Fed meet. That's really going to be the key market trigger, for this week. Overnight, strong, healthy moves coming in, largely, of course, led by tech once again. S&P, Nasdaq, Dow, all in the green. Nasdaq in particular, up close to 1% in yesterday's trade. So we're looking at 22,348 there on the Nasdaq. Asia this morning, a marginal downtick on the Hang Seng and Shanghai Composite, but otherwise Kospi is looking very good and Nikkei also up about 0.6% right now. Gold and silver continued to be in focus, of course. Nifty this morning is showing just a flat indication in the pre-open, and we'll get a sense on that with Shell in just a moment. And gold and silver for you, silver continuing its uptick while gold continues to trend at those records. Shell, good morning. Let's take a look at the market setup, and it's really quiet ahead of that Fed meet. How's the index looking to you?
Good morning, Abha. And as they always say, Mangalwar hai to Mangal hoga hi. Let's start with that positive thought and look at the Nifty. Well, for the last 9 sessions, the index has gained somewhere like 680 points or so. So Monday's mild close in the red was mostly on the cards. Today we have the weekly expiry of the Nifty, so some short covering is expected, but overall the picture is really positive. We have Mr. Brendan Lynch, the chief US negotiator on tariffs in New Delhi, and that's a very positive sign for Dalal Street. Moreover, everything else is quiet. Crude oil is quiet, US 10-year yield is quiet, dollar index is down. So the positivity in the market is all for to be seen. You have PSU stocks doing very well, defense stocks in top form. You have a strong move coming on the Nasdaq. Remember, Nasdaq hit a record high. So all told, sentiment on Dalal Street, Abha, is positive. We are headed for a record high in calendar 2025. The sooner it comes, the better. Good monsoon, GST rate cut, as also the rejig in taxation and interest rates, all providing a positive figure. Abha.
And of course, easing off on all of those tariff troubles. But Shell, let's take a look at some of the key stocks that are going to be in focus. And I know there's one in particular that you're watching very closely, and that's Adani Ports. Take us through why this one is going to be in the news or in focus.
Well, Abha, this is one of those stocks that global brokerage Jefferies has pointed out to its institutional clients. It hopes to have a price target of about 1812. We all know Adani Ports is somewhere like 1400. So 1812 as a one-year target provides a 29% upside on Adani Ports. Remember, for the last 3 years, the Adani Group hasn't had a good time on Dalal Street, and Adani Ports is no exception. It's trading well below its 5-year median PE and price to book. But a lot of positives have come in as far as Jefferies is concerned. They're looking at a very strong volume growth by Adani Ports. Remember, it's India's largest port network, 15% to be precise. And that is somewhere in the vicinity of followed by a lot of capacity expansion of about 70,000 crore rupees over the next 4 years or so. In addition to that, there is EBITDA-led growth, and we also see a target of 1 billion tons for cargo by 2030, which itself is about a 17% CAGR. So volume growth, capacity expansion, and of course fresh capacity that is going to come in. Now coming to valuations, Abha, 5-year median PE for Adani Ports is 26.7, and if you look at the median, it's somewhere like 29.7. So it's trading well below its 5-year PE. And if you look at the price to book for the last 5 years, the average has been 4.61 versus the current price to book for Adani Ports at 4.54. So overall, we see an underpriced stock relative to the Nifty, something that Jefferies has highlighted: capacity expansion, volume expansion, EBITDA expansion, and profit growth. Adani Ports is something that Jefferies, Abha, says should be on radar for a price target of about 1,800 rupees from 1 year of now.
All right, that's a deep dive into Adani Ports for you this morning. Thanks for that, Shell. Now, the Trump administration's chief negotiator, Brendan Lynch, is in India for a crucial round of trade discussions. The India-US trade talks come against the backdrop of Washington's decision to impose 50% import tariffs on Indian goods, a move that New Delhi has slammed as unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable. Now, the visit by Lynch is being seen as an attempt to ease these tensions. And for more on this, let's go across to Karishma Sudani. She's been tracking this closely on ground. Karishma, what are you picking up from your sources?
Well, our US Trade Representative Brendan Lynch is already here, which you also mentioned yesterday during the release of India's trade data for the month of August, which, as per the officials, has done well. We see that there has been a dip of exports from India to the US by close to, say, $1 billion, which is not a good news. And Lynch's arrival in New Delhi is giving some hopes. It's a ray of hope and optimism for both the countries, especially after President Donald Trump and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi last week shared a tweet of optimism where they are looking forward to the trade talks to resume. However, Rabba, let's be honest, sticking points still remain. It's on the India's dairy and agri sector, which, as per my sources, India is still going to take a strong and tough stance on. But now another sticking point is our dependence on Russian oil, which is not being taken very well by the US President Donald Trump. So today's meeting, which is going to be a one-day meeting between both the trade representatives, is going to decide the future course of action for both the countries when it comes to the tariff war.
All right. Now, amid the ongoing trade talks between India and the US, White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro has said that India is now coming to the negotiating table. Navarro also pointed out that India continues to have very high trade barriers, a point that President Trump has raised earlier as well. And speaking on Prime Minister Modi's equation with China, Navarro said, quote, "I don't think Prime Minister Modi was comfortable standing together with China." All right, Karishma, thanks for bringing us all the latest on that front. We've also got Dharmesh Kant joining us this morning from Chola Securities. Dharmesh, good morning. What's the market setup looking like to you on this Tuesday?
Yeah, good morning, Ava. I mean, the markets are, sluggish, and more of a range-bound kind of an activity is happening as, investors and analysts discount the benefits of this GST rate cut, which is likely to be functional from 22nd of September. I think right now market is poised and more poised to see news flows and better news flow outcome conducive to market coming from the US. So that is very critical for this market to, sustain and inch higher as we trade. At the same time, with government did everything which they can do, be it direct tax cut or GST rate cut. At the same time, interest rate cut has also been there to 100 basis point, and likely some more is likely in the offing. So this has given a flow to the market. So we don't see a big downside in the market going forward, at least for next couple of months. At the same time, how much upside can be there, it depends on the deal outcome with the US. That is the tariff thing. So that is very
Okay.
critical to the market from here on.
Dharmesh, I'm just going to move across to market opening. Take a look at the opening ticks there. Let's take us, it is sluggish, as Dharmesh said. 25,106 on the Nifty and 104 is what we're looking at. Just about, 0.14% higher. Nifty Bank has moved into the red. IT marginally up. There's no major action either way right now. Let's take a look. Yep, IT index 0.2% higher. Let's take a look at some of the gainers, losers. Auto, of course, continues to be in focus. We've got Adani Enterprises looking good. Bajaj Finserv, M&M, that's seeing about 0.5% gains this morning as well. We've got L&T, that's up 0.5%. Adani Ports, we just discussed that in great detail. Lots of positive views coming in actually on a whole host of those Adani counters. On the downside, Titan, Asian Paints, Nestle, some of the names keeping pressure on the index. BEL also seeing some amount of moderation coming in. Let's take a look at the banks. Most of the financials actually are in the red. No major cuts, but definitely not contributing to any kind of momentum on the index this morning. Shell, let me come across to you. What are you spotting in terms of opening ticks?
Well, Abha, in terms of sectors, I can't take my eyes away from IT. A mild shade of green across all these stocks, whether it's TCS 1/3% higher, Oracle Financials almost about 0.5% higher, Persistent in the green, Tech Mahindra about 0.5% higher, Coforge, Emphasis, all of them are pointing to value buying as far as the broader markets are concerned. In terms of how Dalal Street is faring, well, fairly strong on Tuesday, 1,600 shares in the green versus 500 in the red. We track 19 indices for our viewers. About 14 of them are in the green, led by the Nifty Auto Index. So no surprises there. In terms of all-time highs, you have Fortis Hospital, which is doing fairly well, now headed towards probably 4 digits. You have Muthoot Finance, gold financing doing very well. Liquor company Radico Khaitan 0.5% higher. And of course, from the auto ancillary space, we have Asahi India, the company that makes your windshield. So all in all, it's a nice opening on the weekly expiry as far as the Nifty is concerned. Abha.
Okay. We're clearly very bullish this morning, Shell. And it's the right way to be optimistic on the market, especially this festive season. Dharmesh, let me come to you on IT because we've been hearing this from some of our experts that perhaps the way to strategize on the IT pack is to actually go in for some value buying on some of the broader market plays versus the blue chip names. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, see, as far as IT companies are concerned, large cap should be avoided. There can be a few days of bounces up because of the currency depreciation, which we are seeing, and some news flow surrounding them. But structurally, they are in a weak basket because there's a huge gap between the recent product launches by AI-enabled IT companies, and they are still trying to catch up. And this is so disruptive. Every day, things are changing quite fast. So by the time they catch up, things change. However, in mid-cap and small-cap space, they are structural stories which are service-oriented. So software development services, the companies which are providing, they are the good ones. They should be, bought on declines. For example, Persistent Technologies or the Coforge of the likes and Signity Technologies. These are the companies which provide IT services for software development. So even it is AI or anything else. So they are the ones I think where traction is likely to be there. 20-25% kind of a CAGR on the revenue and profitability is expected there. And those companies should be bought on declines rather than chasing the upside. So IT is still, not a very clear, upward trending kind of buy right now.
Okay. Auto, of course, continues to be in the news. Dharmesh, I want to get your top picks in that segment, but also Hero on the 1,200 crore rupee IPO coming up. I mean, maybe a bit soon to dissect all the details there, but just wanted to get your take on the two-wheeler major.
Yeah, I mean, automobiles as such is in a very sweet spot, and it's likely to, we can see blockbuster numbers in the month of October when the sales numbers are rolled out. But what we are, more interested in whether the drift carries forward into November and December. So that's a catch point. Most of the auto companies have done up quite well, almost anywhere between 20 to 25% from the lows of, say, May or June month lows. So 90% of the upside has been captured in the price with relate to the valuation factors there. Still, if somebody is an investor from 1 year kind of a perspective, then Hero MotoCorp from the entry level bike segment, which also has a EV play through their subsidiaries, and the Mahindra and Mahindra, which has both CV, PV, and your farm equipment segment all playing out, and every macro factors are a tailwind for this company. So these are the two companies which we continue to like. Though near term, we are not expecting much upside, but from a longer term perspective, we see a decent upside of 20-25% from current price levels.
All right. That's on auto. Shell, let me come back across to you. What else are you spotting? Any other new highs?
Well, Abha, I think low priced and high beta items are doing very well. Look at NCC. This is a construction company. The top traded stock for some reason today, 2.5% higher. Already 51 lakh shares have been traded. 217 rupees is what the price is in front of us. And of course, you have a strong move coming into DLF, 0.2% higher. 777.45. Canara Bank is doing well, 1/3% higher at 112.80, and of course a strong move also in Shree Cement, 29,785, 1.7% higher. All in all, the mood is positive. Nifty Bank is in the green. IT index is 71 points higher, and the Nifty on its weekly expiry, Abha, is moving towards 25,143. That is a 4-week high. Let's hope it closes above that today. Abha.
All right, everyone's keenly watching out for that level, and a close above that's supposed to be critical. Dharmesh, let me actually come to you on some of your top picks in the overall market right now. There are a whole host of names that seem to be performing well, even in the broader markets. Let me get your top picks this morning.
Yeah, so sectorally, we have been positive on defense stock for the last 2 years. So in between, there was a year when there was sluggish kind of a movement. So we continue to have a positive bias on that because there's a structural story in the making, and it's a multi-year structural story. So in between, there will be a few quarters where there could be some hiccups. But net, we see it unfolding in a very positive way, and Government of India has become a big spender in that sector as well. So wherever Government of India is spender, we are looking at that sector, and HAL, BEL remains the topics. And for mid-cap space, DCX system is what we continue to like in that space. Infra space is looking particularly good. Shell just pointed out about NCC, which has won an order yesterday, and we are seeing a price action there. But again, I think valuations are comfortable out there, be it NCC, L&T, and the like. So these companies will see traction as we move into the second half of FY26. This space is looking very good. Renewable energy segment is looking far better. So like NTPC Green, they have just recently commissioned one plant in Gujarat a few days back. So things will continue unfolding out there, and big profitability jump will be seen. There were some structural issues regarding land allotment and all. So those are getting fast-tracked by the government, and this will again augurs very well for this entire space. Apart from that, cyclical plays like automobiles and metals. So we are sticking to the core economy sectors, and where prime spender is Government of India, and some consumer durables in the automobile space where all the tailwinds will play from the consumption side. So these are the broader stories which we are sticking to. Two stocks which we like outside the broader basket. One is Reliance Industries because of valuation comfort which is there. Again, it's a multi-year story in the making. And the other is Life Insurance Corporation of India, that is LIC, which is fairly reasonably valued when compared to domestic private players. So these are the plays which we are liking from a investment perspective.
All right. Let me also bring up MobiKwik this morning. Morning show is not complete without at least one of the new listings, from the tech space. But MobiKwik, let's pull that up for you. And it's seeing a decent amount of traction. This is a relatively new listing. The company, as we all know, is in payments, so it's a fintech. Shell, let's just take a look at the recent performance there, and how Quick is placed right now. It's up about 1.5% in an otherwise, steady market.
Yes, Abha, I think MobiKwik hit a 20% high last week, and that was because the stock had corrected fairly sharply. Remember, a year ago, the listing was phenomenal, and we've seen a price of somewhere like 650 on MobiKwik, but subsequent there was a lot of profit booking happening there. But last week has seen value buying emerging again into internet stocks like payment gateway, as you mentioned, on MobiKwik. So 2% higher at 321. And of course, MobiKwik is not alone. You have a movement on Paytm over the last 1 week. You have a strong move coming into PB Fintech. All these stocks have seen money moving into them from traditional IT. So all those funds who had lots of strong positions in domestic IT stocks are actually moving towards domestic internet stocks. Look at Eternal, look at Swiggy. All of them have done fairly well in the last 1 month or so. Abha.
Absolutely. And that does seem to be a recurring theme that we're tracking here on the show. I would say, Dharmesh, let me come to you. I know it's a relatively recent listing, but any view on MobiKwik?
I mean, it's a relatively recent listing. At the same time, numbers have to still to flow into the profitability part. So I think if one is to take a call on this space, so Paytm is relatively more better off, and they have seen the path to profitability. So we are sticking with that. I mean, the market leader in the segment.
All right, so clear strategy, at least from Dharmesh prefers Paytm from that pack. But interesting, we'll keep an eye on that. We'll also keep an eye on Zomato versus Swiggy and continue to bring you the latest on how some of these names are performing and the kind of value they're delivering for the investor. I think it's been a decent start. We're going to, of course, keep a track on expiry today, and we'll bring you more on that at 3:30 when we're, of course, tracking market closing for you. But right now, steady start, and we're eyeing those critical levels to close above that 25,150 mark as a key technical level, and watching out, of course, for the Fed meet. Thanks so much for watching.